On the show today, we have 6 brilliant authors, amazing stories, a live draw along, and also a Laughs, Legends, and Lost Treasures quiz. Get ready for some amazing stories for kids. It's Mr Dilly Meets, Laughs, Legends, and Lost Treasures. You're also going to need today a pen and paper because we have a wonderful draw along later on for you to all sort of join in with. And of course, we have the class quiz with my guests who will be playing along with you in your classrooms to see, we'll see how they get on, shall we? We see how they get on. Before that, we're going to meet them all as if by magic because we haven't played this for a long time. It was a very popular feature from a few Mr. Dilly Meets ago called Book in a Blink, in which all the authors have 15 seconds to basically talk about their book. And they can't stop. They have to keep talking for 15 seconds and no pausing to talk about the whole book. That's probably taken them months or years, 15 seconds. So we're going to do Book in a Blink titles, and then we're going to welcome all my guests. So here we go. And here we all are, as if by magic on the screen. There we go. Give everyone a nice big wave, everyone. Nice big wave. Nice to see you all. Okay, so let's go through. So we have SJ Poyton here. Let's give SJ a nice round of applause. We have Penney. Round of applause for Kaz. We have Tom Adams. Round of applause to Tom. We have MG Leonard. Round of applause for MG Leonard. We have Claire Powell. And we have Jack Noel. There we go. So round of applause. Now, welcome to you all today. Lovely to be with you today. Now, you all look slightly terrified. Okay.
They're terrified.
It's going to be okay. Right. Now, I think I can ask you a question, or I can just sort of say this. To start Book in a Blink today, is anybody feeling extremely brave who would like to start? Who would like to start? Anybody? Or should we just go straight for you, Sally, to start with, as you're there in the middle of my screen? Okay, we're going to go Sally, Kaz, Tom, MG, Claire, and Jack. You have a huge responsibility today of finishing off with a plum. I don't know what that is. Not a plum, but a plum. Yeah. Okay, so Jack, you're going to finish it off. So we do have a timer, 15 seconds. And when the time is up, I'll be using the kids' favorite, this kazoo, to stop. It'll be a or something similar, and you have to stop at that moment. Now, for those 15 seconds, you have to continually talk for 15 seconds about your book. Pack as much in as possible, no pressure. Of course, we will be, don't worry, we will be going into a bit more detail about the books a bit later on. So first of all, as kicking us all off, can we all have a nice round of applause for SJ Poyton, please? Give SJ a nice big round of applause. Okay, I wish you well, okay? Are we ready? Now, do you do any, before these sort of things, do you do any limbering up, any stretching, or anything like that?
No, I don't do exercise.
We're just going to go straight in. Okay, so here we go. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, and then the time is up. Ready? Here we go. Good luck. 3, 2, 1, off you go.
Mammoth Rider is a STEM climate change action adventure story where 3 children have to race across the Arctic tundra to save a herd of mammoths that have been cloned to help with the battle against global warming from trophy hunters. Have I got time?
That's it. You've got time to spare. We could have found a couple of words in there. That's a very good start. Very good start. Okay, Kaz, you're up next. Are we ready? Here we go. 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3. You're on.
10-year-old Will Shakespeare wants to be the greatest person who solves crimes in the world. So when a bag of Henry VIII's smelly old toenail clippings goes missing, he and BFF Tybalt are on the case. Can they dodge turnips and piles of pongy pants to find the toenail clippings and reunite Ronaldo and Judy and save the party?
Look at that. That was kind of on the money there, Kaz. That was great. Very, very good. Okay, Tom, how are you feeling? Pretty good? Pretty confident?
Tough competition.
It is tough competition. Okay, here we go. So ready? 3, 2, 1, off you go.
This is a book about stories of lost things. We're not talking socks, keys, or library books, but people, animals, ancient trees, presidents' brains, playwrights' heads, TV shows, Shakespeare's plays, Roman legion, the royal jewels, ancient languages, a football World Cup, moon rocks, nuclear bombs, and more.
Look at that. That was pretty good, Tom. You packed a lot in there. That's the whole planet in 15 seconds. Okay, MG Leonard now. Are we ready? Here we go. 15 seconds coming at you. 3, 2, 1, go.
Portly the Otter is a beautiful story about the cutest little otter on the riverbank. He has lots of different adventures, and you can follow him through his adventures from catching a giant trout to also witnessing a horrible, nasty, robbery planning party in the middle of the wild woods.
Portly the Otter Final for Portly the Otter. Okay, very good, MG Leonard. Okay, Claire Powell.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Help me, Lord. Okay.
No. Okay.
15 seconds starting. 3, 2, 1. Now, off you go.
The Great Stampede is the fastest feathers race, and Marty has to deliver an extra special prize to the finish line, a giant golden egg. But he gets lost in Foggy Forest, is ambushed by bandits twice, and he ends up riding a bull to the finish line. Will he make it? I don't know.
Will he make it? Claire Powell nearly made it. She did make it, though. She did very, very good, Claire Powell. Okay, Jack now. Now, Jack apparently is going to finish it off with a dance. I don't know. That's probably not going to happen. No, just going to go straight in. Here we go, Jack. Are we ready? So, 3.
Okay, so I've got Dadbot. I've got Dadbot. I've got Dadbot 2. This is the story of Josh and Daisy, who are brother and sister, and they've got a robot father figure who looks after them. It's full of color, lots of laughs, sound effects, and the Dadbot is a robot who can do fun stuff like he's got telly belly projector and he can make hot chocolate come out of his butt. Dance.
That's a good one to finish. So it's just, if you take anything away from the show today, teachers and kids, it's hot chocolate out of a robot's butt. There we go. Okay, now Sally's staying with us, and of course the rest of the guests will be joining us again later on. So everyone else, give us a wave goodbye, and that is the end for Booking a Blink. Okay, Sally, thank you very much. Welcome back. So here we go. Mammoth Rider goes a bit strange on my screen. Beautiful, wonderful book. So tell us a little bit more about Mammoth Rider. Tell us. I read a little bit about you. Obviously, you're very interested in prehistory. First of all, let's start there, because children might have heard of history. They don't know what prehistory is. So what is that, and what sort of led you into writing this book?
Well, prehistory is anything that's historic before humans started writing it down, really, before we had a historical record. So I'm interested in everything history, prehistory, but I've had because of the book, I've had the opportunity to go on some paleontology digs at the site made famous by the BBC documentary Attenborough and the Mammoth Graveyard. I was invited by Sally and Nev Hollingworth, who are the people that found the site, and I've spent 3 years there helping to dig up mammoth and other things like Jurassic marine reptiles. So
you actually found some mammoth bones on the day?
I didn't. I was in a hole for 2 days, right on top of mammoth bone. I went away for 2 minutes. My 18-year-old son went in the hole and his trowel hit mammoth bone, which I just like to think is good parenting, but I was a little bit devastated.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes. That's incredible. What a discovery. So we've had a quick glimpse from the 15 Booking a Blink 15 seconds. What makes for the children watching, so a lot of the emphasis today is on, because we've got such a variety of books and obviously appealing to all different children in all different kinds of ways. We'll talk about a little bit about that, other elements of this book, which will play into that in a moment. But what makes this such a great adventure story for sort of kids to sort of grab hold of, and that sort of bringing different things to life once you're inside the story? Would you say?
Well, I think I read this for kids that like action, adventure, but also it's got a lot of science in it, and active science. So this is about a world where they brought mammoths back to help with global warming, which is actual science that's happening at the moment. There are teams of scientists all over the world trying to clone mammoths. The idea is that mammoths living their best life on the tundra will stop the permafrost from melting, which is permanently frozen on the ground in the Arctic, and stop it releasing methane gas into the air, which increases the rate of global warming. But basically, despite the fact that, including the fact that it's got lots of action, it's got lots of very strong friendships, but also there's lots of lovely kind of relationships between the mammoths and the people. So there's a very special mammoth calf called Noel, who is 6 months old and white, and the main protagonist, Ash, kind of feels very strongly that she really wants to protect this particular calf, as well as the herd in general. So
How actual, just really quickly, how close are they to actually doing that then, in terms of?
they reckon at some point in the next 10 years. Now, I'm not necessarily sure that we should be bringing extinct animals back, but the same technology is actually helping animals that are alive today that are endangered. And I think that is really important. And I also think exploring different ways to combat climate change is also really important.
Yeah,
So,
that's absolutely fascinating. So do you get a glimpse of that in the book? If you read the book, you get a glimpse of that side of things as we read the story.
yes, and in the back there's a non-fiction section about neurodiversity, about mammoths, about cloning, and about climate change, plus links of places where you can go to find more information.
Well, I was going to say about that, because I think that what's one about this book is obviously you've got the story, as Sally said there, but obviously you've also got this non-fiction section in the back, which expands on the facts. And some of us, we love wading into stories like that. So a bit more about that from Tom Adams later. But also this book, it reminds me of some of my favourite books, which are Barrington Stoke. I know it's not published by Barrington Stoke, but Barrington Stoke are a dyslexia-friendly sort of publisher. And this book is also dyslexia-friendly. Tell us a little bit about that. Why was that important to you? And then what can readers expect if they pick up this book that might look a bit different from other books?
Well, it's very important to me because I am neurodiverse. I have dyslexia, which means I find it difficult to read. My spelling is wobbly. I have dyscalculia, which is the same but with numbers, and I have dyspraxia, which is the same with dexterity and coordination. I was still reading the equivalent of Biff and Chip books, age 13, and I still find it really difficult to read certain text when it's very dense. Now, I'm a big fan of Barrington Stoke. I used to do a lot of reviewing for them. But because this book was actually written to be very readable, the way that the language has been used, I felt it was really important to try and make it readable as well. And thankfully, the publishers do too. So it's in dyslexia-friendly font. It's got generous spacing, and also it's justified just to the left rather than to both sides, like most things. So it's much easier for tracking, and that's easy for everybody, whether you're dyslexic or non-dyslexic. It just makes the reading process a lot easier. And actually, I'm very thankful for it when I'm doing readings in front of schools, because I still find reading difficult. So it's absolutely wonderful because they've made it very easy for me to do my readings.
It's good. That's what I'm saying. There's another way of accessing books for not just children who are dyslexic, but for anybody to sort of read. It's a really good way into the story. You're going to give us a little reading in a minute. Just one really quick question before we go. Obviously, the book has a lot of facts, a lot of science as well, and it's an adventure story. But it also has a lot of heart, a lot of emotion running through the whole story, the whole book. What do you think the readers will feel most strongly as they kind of journey with Ash and the Mammoths through this story? What do you think is sort of playing into for them? What they're going to take away from it in terms of their sort of the feelings of the story?
It depends on the reader. Some people it is the science, some people it is the animal-human relationship, some people it is the friendships between the people, some people it's the fact that they're seeing themselves reflected in a book for the first time. There are very few protagonists with dyscalculia or dyspraxia. So I think it actually very much depends on who is reading to what they take away.
That's brilliant. So there's literally something in there for everybody, which is a wonderful thing. Okay, can you give us a little taster? Of the book? I'll just do for that now, Sally. That'd be great.
Right. The colossal creature towered above the girl, his warm breath heating her face. Huge, deadly tusks rolled out either side, reminding the child that with a single shake of the brute's head, she would be dead. Wise amber eyes studied the girl as explosions, screams, and trumpeting sounded all round them. Smoke enveloped the pair, shrinking the world until it was just the two of them, child and beast. The girl knew the animal was invited to ride him. It was a call to arms. No, a call to trunk. He was asking her to help in the battle to save the herd. As she gazed back into the beast's penetrating eyes, she knew he was looking to see if she was worthy, if she was strong enough, and she wondered the same thing. It was all she'd ever wanted, to be a mammoth rider like her dad. But in that second, as the herd was under attack, doubt froze her. How could she, a 12-year-old girl, help save a herd of mammoths. Do I have the strength to be a mammoth rider? She whispered.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sally. I've got one final little question for you, which is not really to do with the book, it's more to do with you. I think you answer this very quickly. You've obviously been passionate about animals, which you said, but this is what it says. Sally once smuggled a parrot into school for a debate about rainforest deforestation. You smuggled you're a parrot smuggler. Oh, no.
Yeah, well, so my parents used to breed and hand rear parrots for conservation and for the pet industry. And I was in a debate. I was doing anti-deforestation. I had a friend who was doing for deforestation of rainforests. So I had this little parrot, a lesser vassa from Madagascar. It's a very ugly parrot, very beautiful, very friendly. They literally pick them off of the branches in their wild habitat because they're so friendly. But it looks like a black pigeon and very endangered. At the time, there was about 35 in the wild breeding pairs. So I basically met my mum by the school fence. She passed the parrot over to me. I put it into my blazer, took it in and went, ta-da, this is why you don't.
Wow, that's amazing. I bet they loved it, didn't they? That was amazing.
It was. I didn't think that I would have a challenge to win the actual debate, but then my friend got up and went, who would like to live without this, and held out a toilet roll. And so it was a bit touch and go, but I did actually win the debate in the end.
Well, toilet rolls are touch and go, let's face it.
Yeah.
So let's face it. Listen, Sally will be back for our Ask the Author, some of your school questions in a moment. But now, Mammoth Rider, it's got everything you need in there. Adventure, it's got facts, easy read as well. Brilliant story as well, for your reading pleasure as well now. So for now, Sally, round of applause. SJ Poyton, please. Thank you very much, Sally. That's brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Look at that. First book. Got you thinking, got you wondering. But it's time to welcome my second guest back. Let's bring back Claire Powell. Here we go. So, Claire, how are you again? Nice to see you again.
Thank you. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Now, before we get into your book, Claire, there's just another little fact about you. I had that one about SJ Poyton there. In your childhood, you had a real cupboard under the stairs. So people might know the cupboard under the stairs from the Harry Potter one, but Claire had a real one. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So, quick story. When I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, I loved drawing. It's all I ever did. And I was an only child. And one day my mum and dad said that they lost me in the house. They couldn't find me anywhere. And I think they did quite a frantic search and started to think maybe I'd slipped out the front door or something and gone on an adventure. And I hadn't. I had only gone as far as the cupboard under the stairs. And so the story goes, I'd opened this cupboard and I'd gone in with some pencils and paper and a few of my toys. And my mum and dad found me sat on the floor. And I was drawing, and my dad thought, well, if she likes it so much in here, I'll turn it into an art den. And so they did. They moved everything that was in there out, and my dad built some shelves. And I guess it was my first little art den / studio. And I went in there and drew every day. It was a dream. But the only problem is we don't have any photos of it. It's so annoying. So in my head, I half remember it. I just wish we had like one photo, but we don't.
So
but it was wonderful.
I think that's amazing. Isn't that amazing? That is so cool. A real life cupboard under the stairs. There you go. You're learning something already. Okay. So we've heard a bit about Marty already. So tell us a little bit more about it. So what's that kind of chaos are readers getting into by jumping into this book a little bit more? Can you sort of expand on the story a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's 2 books in the series so far, and you can read them in any order. This is the one I wrote first, and it's all about introduces readers to Marty, and he's a post mouse, and in this book, it's his first day on the job, and obviously everything goes wrong for him. That's sort of the theme of the series. In this book, which is the one that I'm here to talk about mostly today, it's the day of the fastest feathers race, and Marty thinks he's going to get to be able to watch this race from the sidelines, but obviously that isn't the case, because as you can see on the cover here, this is the prize. It's a great big golden egg, and it gets lost. And so Marty has to go and find it and deliver it to the finish line before the contestants finish the race. But because everything always goes wrong, unfortunately, he isn't the only one that wants the golden egg. And basically, there's lots of bandits in these books, and they want the golden egg for themselves. I've probably got a photo. Here's some. So here's some ferret bandits, and they ambush Marty, but there's also some foul play going on, and all the contestants are not as they seem, and Marty must figure out what's going on. It's completely calamitous, and it basically runs all around Little Ditch, which is where it's set. So you get to see lots and lots of different places, like the Burrow, Foggy Forest. He ends up riding a bull. It's complete chaos.
Is there any particular, you said moments, is there any particular moments of kind of chaos or comedy in there that really kind of, you know, I guess I think when you're writing funny things, they've got to make you laugh first, right? In sense of that. So is there any particular favourite moments of
Ooh, that's a really good question.
And also, are any of those moments based on something that actually you've seen happen or happen to you or someone else, do you think?
Well, so there's a scene in here that I actually do really love, and it's when Marty and his friend Nibbles, because he goes on these adventures with his friend Nibbles Frisbee, who's a rabbit. There she is. But they end up riding a bull. Okay, and I love this scene, which is where Nibbles is riding the bull, and that's Marty there. And Nibbles has got hold of Marty by the end of his tail. And I haven't ever ridden a bull, but I have been chased across a field by a bull. And I guess that's why this sort of ended up in the book. And at the time I was being chased, it wasn't funny at all. But afterwards, obviously, it was hilarious. So yeah, quite a lot that ended up in
a herd of cows once. Not fun.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
They're terrifying. They really are.
Is that the bit you're going to read for us today? Have you got a little reading? Is that the section
I have got a little reading. I wasn't sure today whether to do a reading or a drawing, but I'm gone with the reading. So I'm going to read the bit where Marty has discovered the egg, but unfortunately it's up a tree hanging from a branch. So here we go. Marty climbed the tree in no time, but as he reached the top, he found the branches had become quite spindly, and he was worried the one he needed to cross would snap under his weight. Oh, creeping caterpillars! Marty breathed in and shimmied along the branch on his belly. It was covered in gloopy tree sap, which made his uniform and paws all sticky. Ew. Marty went as far as he could. Then he reached and he stretched and he reached a little further until finally his paws wrapped around the string and got it, Marty hollered. He felt overjoyed for approximately 2 seconds. Then he realized that he and Nibbles hadn't thought of one very important thing. How am I going to get down carrying a giant egg? It was heavy too, much heavier than he'd expected. Normally, he would carry parcels in his post bag, but he didn't have it. It was hanging on his peg in the Little Ditch post office. Holding the egg in one paw, he began to shuffle backwards along the branch on his wobbly bottom. It wasn't easy, but he was just about managing until the tree started to shake. Nibbles, what are you doing? Marty squealed, holding onto the branch for dear life. But Nibbles didn't answer. Boing! The branch was bouncing up and down uncontrollably now, and Marty couldn't stay upright. He slipped upside down and clung to the branch with one paw, his other paw clutching the egg. Boing! Boing! Oh, worrying whistles! I can't hold on much longer, Marty thought. He tried to wrap his tail around the branch, but everything was wobbling too much. It was no good. Marty had to let go of the golden egg. From his upside-down position, he watched as the egg fell gracefully down, 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 past a bird's nest, between rotten branches, and was caught in the paws of bandits. There you go.
Dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun. I've left it on a cliffhanger.
Left it on a cliffhanger. Got a very quick question for you, Claire, if you can answer mine really, really quickly. As I said, we're trying to look at different children and the way they read and the way they get into books. And Sally said about her book and that sort of real mixture of adventure non-fiction, but also a bit of science in there as well, and the way it's written. Your book obviously got those amazing illustrations by yourself alongside the text, and obviously the comedy, which is obviously a big, very popular genre at the moment. If this is the sort of thing that children like, if you're one of the children watching this who likes a funny story, why exactly does your book kind of work for them in that sort of sense? What do you think it kind of really brings to life for children who like comedy or just like illustrations and stuff? How's it kind of reach them?
I think a lot of it is about the friendship that Marty has with Nibbles, and that sort of the duo. And so if you love comedy, it's almost about you get to see how Marty and Nibbles deal with everyday life situations in their world, obviously. And I think that there's something really relatable to that, because I think if we can develop a sense of humor about the things that happen to us in everyday life, when things go wrong, when things don't go to plan. So for example, I often say to children, I'm always losing my keys, I've got my car stuck in the mud, my dog's done a wee on my studio floor. If I can learn to laugh at those things, it actually makes life a lot more enjoyable. And I think that's what the Marty books are all about, really, is learning to laugh at life a little bit more.
Absolutely, that's brilliant answer. Claire is back for your school questions very, very soon. But for now, Claire Powell, Marty Moose, give a round of applause. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you in a minute. Thank you very much. Okay, we're jumping into our next guest. It's got a lot of pace, a lot of energy, this show. Okay, our next guest needs no introduction, really. She's going to speak about her latest book, which you've already had a little glimpse in. Please welcome to Mr. Dilly Meets, MG Leonard. Here we go. MG Leonard, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay,
hello.
So great to have you on. So first of all, your book is absolutely beautiful. Tell us a little bit more about it, because as you sort of said in the 15 seconds, it sort of jumps us or returns us back to a familiar world for some of the children watching. So tell us a little bit more about the book.
So when I was little, at bedtime, I used to be read a story, and that story was called The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. It's a very famous story, but maybe a little bit old-fashioned for children today, but it has some incredible characters in it. Very famously, there is a toad called Mr. Toad who loves to drive motor cars, and a rat with a boat, and his best friend Molly, and they're all friends with a wonderful, cantankerous, gruff old badger. And in this book, there are wonderful adventures that take place, and there is a tiny baby otter who goes missing in this book. But one of the things that upset me when I was little is it never explains what happened to that otter, where he went, like what adventures he got up to. And as a child, I always wanted to know what happened to Portly the otter. And that is the story that I have now written.
I think that's amazing. That's really beautiful. That sort of finding that way into this story. So, what can kids expect? What makes this sort of the Portly the Otter's world so special for sort of kids to jump into and see this different sort of side of Wind in the Willows? What can they expect in that sense?
Well, first of all, if you think otters are cute, then you're going to adore this book, because Portly is the cutest otter in the world. And one of the most important things about Portly is that his name, Portly, actually is another word for chubby. It means having a lovely round tummy. And the thing about Portly is that he's a bit worried that he's not very good at being an otter, because he really does struggle to swim and do the kinds of things that his brothers and sisters find very easy. He has big dreams, but he often finds that it's a struggle to just do the basic things that most otters are good at, like swimming and catching fish.
Well, was it fun for you to sort of revisit a world that you sort of knew, but also the fact that some readers will also know as well? Was it sort of fun revisiting that? And
yes, I absolutely loved it. When I was little, we did a play of Wind in the Willows at school, and I got to play Ratty. I've always identified with Ratty. I feel like I'm a Ratty. I think when you read it, you fall in love with Toad because he's very mischievous and naughty. And one of the things that was lovely in this book was the opportunity to take those characters that I loved and I knew so well from my own childhood and actually place them at the heart of a story. So there are stories where Portly gets involved with one of Mr. Toad's rather harebrained wild schemes, and there are lots of beautiful color pictures throughout the book. I should say I didn't do the pictures are by a wonderful artist called Polly Dunbar, and she brings the stories to life just magically. But as you can see from this illustration here, Portly does get himself into an awful lot of scrapes, particularly when he's hanging out with Mr. Toad.
I like the goggles there. I like the goggles and Portly. That's a good thing. I'm just going to take a sideline on this. If you're familiar with N.G. Leonard's books, not all of them, but a lot of them, they have a kind of a real sort of a mixture of adventure and sort of conservation, you know, across a number of them. You may not know this. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about this. That N.G. Leonard is the vice president of the insect charity Bug Life, and also the founding author, one of the founding authors, or are you the founding author of Authors for Oceans, which is
along with Lawrence and John.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about? Just tell us a little bit more about your sort of work with Bug Life, because a lot of children are obviously interested in the natural world.
Yes.
And that's another way into your book. You know, it's a great way into that. Yeah.
The first book I ever wrote was called Beetle Boy, and quite a lot of people know me for my beetle stories, and often they just call me the Beetle Lady because, well, if you come to my house, you'll see that I have a lot of beetles. And the work that I do with Bug Life as the vice president is to basically try and make people understand that insects are really wonderful, fascinating, beautiful creatures. A lot of people are scared of them, and I do understand that. But if you spend a little bit of time getting to know them, learning about them, what you'll realize is that if every single insect on the planet were to disappear, just like that, within 2 weeks, the human race would be struggling. We wouldn't have plants being pollinated. We wouldn't have insects breaking down waste and dung and poop and things like that. Disease would be rife. Food would be disappearing. And actually, a lot of our plants would be dying. And so actually, we need insects. They're really important. Whereas, you know, if you clicked your fingers and all the human beings on the planet were to disappear, well, the insects would probably be better off. They do not need us at all. They perform so many great services to allow us to live this wonderful life. And they don't even charge us any money. So I feel like we should be telling stories that really champion particularly insects, because they often get typecast as bad guys, and they really aren't. So that's one of the things that I really care about. I live in Brighton by the sea, and so I'm very passionate about ocean conservation, which is why we set up the Authors for Oceans, just because, particularly with the problem with plastic in the sea, we just felt as children's authors, there's over 50 of us in the Authors for Oceans group, we could bring our voices together and encourage not just the publishing industry, but places beyond, to try and just be that little bit more conscious about single-use plastic and other things that affect ocean creatures.
Brilliant stuff. I'm going to give you a round of applause for that. I mean, it's very important. It's an amazing thing. But also, I think that's the thing for the children watching, is you've got the familiar world of the wind in the willows and this other story from it. But you've also got this sort of nature hook and the wider nature hook of N.G. Leonard's sort of wider interest to sort of hook you. So if you're interested in that, that's a great way into this story and other stories as well. Could you give us a little taster of that, of the book? So I'll hand over to you to give us a little.
I would love to, yes. Also, by the way, when you look on the cover of this book, you will spot there are loads of beetles and insects in the artwork, because I insist on that kind of thing. But I'm just going to read you the opening. So, when a freshwater spring grows into a bubbly brook, then journeys downhill in an ever-sliding body to the sea, we call it a river. A river is a marvelous moving thing. It shapes the land through which it travels. Many plants and creatures depend on it for food, society, and adventure. And among them are the otters. Now, there is a time in a young otter's life when they must be introduced to their river. And for Portly, that day was today. Mrs. Otter fussed over Portly and his sister Mamie, grooming any tufts of fur that might let the cold water touch their skin, working hard to ensure their coats were waterproof. "Are you ready for your first outing, my littlest dears?" she asked, her snout prodding them encouragingly. Portly squeaked and squirmed with excitement. All he'd ever known was the Otter family home, a sparsely furnished, shadow-soft holt with walls of twisting tree roots and compact earth. At the circular door-to-bank tunnel, jostling to be the first through, were the older otter litter, Ernest, Rowdy, and Flo. The river was their playground, and they were eager to dive in.
There we go, brilliant. So Portly the Otter, Untold Tales from the Wind in the Willows is out for your reading and diving in pleasure now. N.G. Leonard, you're going to stay with us because we've got some school questions. We're going to bring back S.J. Poyton and Claire Powell for our first, Ask the Author. So here we go. Okay, so we're all here for our little panel, so it's good to be with you. Now, we've been sent loads of questions that we can only ever get around to a small handful. So I'm going to put the question out, and if we can all jump in and just answer as sort of briefly as we can, I guess, so we can get as many questions in as possible. Again, thanks for all your questions coming in. So first up, we have Canby, a new Elizabethan school in Kidderminster. Thank you for your question. What books did you enjoy reading when you were young? Shall we start with you, Sally, if that's all right?
Yeah. So I found reading really difficult. So I usually would find a book by watching the film first, and then I would know it was worth me reading because I knew I would enjoy the book. So my favourite was probably Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim by I've forgotten the author's name. O'Brien, not Richard O'Brien. Yes. Anyway, it's about mammoth. It's not about mammoths. It's about rats that have been genetically altered, and so they've got the same intelligence and lifespans as humans, and they are being hunted by the humans that made them because they've escaped the facility of NIM, which is the National Institute of Mental Health. And actually what they want to do is live a life which is like eco-friendly in the mountains away from humans. It's a brilliant, brilliant story, and the film is amazing.
Awesome, fantastic. Okay, Claire, what about yourself?
Oh, which books did I enjoy when I was young? Oh, yeah. There's so many. I find this really difficult to choose. I have to say, I loved the sort of really make-believe books, and things like The Wishing Chair and The Magic Faraway Tree. They're the books I remember reading on my own for the first time, and The Magic Roundabout and stuff like that. They're the ones that I remember. We had a spare room in my house, and I was allowed to read in there with a little lantern. And it was very small and cozy, a bit like the art den. I seem to have a thing for small, cozy rooms. And I remember being in there and reading about the magic faraway tree and imagining like being up there and all the world's changing. And it's the book I remember reading on my own for the first time, which I think is why it stuck with me.
So the movie, I don't know if you've seen the movie trailer for the
haven't.
Coming out soon, so
I know.
And then, what about yourself? Any particular book?
Well, I read voraciously as a child, but my favourites were The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I loved The Twits by Roald Dahl because it was just so ridiculous, and I loved the magic of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh yeah, brilliant stuff. And again, loads of that's coming out soon on the TV, isn't it? Okay, here we go. So here's a good one. Okay, this might be quite quick with this one. Here we go. So District C Primary, Newton Le Willows, lovely name. Sounds like it should be in your book there, Maya. Here we go. Who was the hero or villain that fascinated you the most as a child? Which is a great question, isn't it? I know, I guess from a book, but I guess it doesn't have to be from a book, I guess. S.J. Poyton, any particular hero or villain you thought, oh, I love that?
I think Cruella de Vil. I mean, she's got style, she's got wit, even her name spells out how villainous she is. And I always wondered what her backstory is. I mean, thankfully, Disney came along to fill that for us recently. But yes, I loved Cruella.
Cruella de Vil. What about you, Claire? Was there a particular hero or villain?
Yeah, I really liked, and actually it's quite similar to Cruella de Vil and the Snow Queen from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I always wondered whether or not I would do the same and accept is it Turkish Delight, and whether I would go along with her. I don't, and I still don't do.
I know. Oh, creepy. I don't know if you've read the rest of the Narnia books. Though. She does appear. It's amazing if you read all the books. Yeah. And Angie Leonard, what about yourself?
Well, I think the evil villain that scared me the most was the head witch in Roald Dahl's The Witches, because she wanted to eliminate all children across the planet. And she had a very good plan that I thought was going to be quite effective. So I was kind of morbidly fascinated by her and scared.
That's a good answer. Okay, really quickly on the next one. Here we go. So this is a sort of a practical question, really. So here we go. Lucy Fields Primary School. Sorry, thanks for your question. What do you do if you are finding it tricky to think what to write next? I guess it's appealing to sort of the kids in their classrooms for their own sort of creative writing. Any sort of quick number one tip that pops into your head? So, Sally, any particular tip you could come up with for any children?
Yeah, feed your brain. Creativity is a living thing. Unless you nourish it, you're not going to be able to be creative. So go out for a walk, watch a documentary, read a film. Just go out and listen to somebody. You will get ideas, but you actually have to feed your brain.
So keep putting stuff into it. Okay, Claire, what about yourself? Same sort of thing or a bit different?
Yeah, so I would, to add to that, I think if you're look at your own things that have happened in your own life. So some of the things that I write about have been experiences or people that I've met, or observations. So I suppose it's feeding your imagination, but then also looking at your own experiences, because that's also a source of ideas.
Brilliant. And NG Leonard, funny.
Well, before I wrote books, I used to work in theatre, and in theatre there's a thing called well, it's kind of just making things up, really. A hot seating, where you sit on a chair and people ask you loads of questions and you pretend to be a character and you answer the questions. You're just lying. You're making things up. And that's kind of, it's called improvising. And so what I do when I get stuck is I just make up an answer, even if it's preposterous, knowing I can come back and fix it. But the most important thing is just to keep going and not stop, because you can get too worried if you think about a blockage for too long. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So I just make up something preposterous and carry on.
A bit like life, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly like that. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much. We'll be seeing you all later on for our quiz a bit later on. But now, thank you very much, MG Leonard, SG Poyton, Claire Powell. Thank you very much. Okay, let's carry on. We've got more authors and more coming up. It's going to be a long show, but you know, it's all part. You can watch it all back. It's going to be great. So let's welcome back for a little bit of a different turn here. We're going to welcome to Mr Dilly Meets back. It's Tom Adams. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you again.
Hello, nice to be back.
And Tom is here, a bit of a different book. He said earlier, it's a bit weird on my screen. You guys all green screen. I can't really show it, so you better hold it up. Here we go. So it's Lost, stories of people, places, and things lost throughout history, which is a fascinating and really kind of like a curious kind of title. Tell us a little bit, what was your kind of starting point for that? Was it kind of like a thing that you came across and thought, what happened to that? What was the starting point?
Well, my real job, for want of a better word, I write in my spare time. My real job is making television. And in those, we are continually, I make a lot of documentaries about archaeology, about people digging things up. And when you're an archaeologist, you are continually pulling things out of the ground that were lost. And I just thought there were so many fascinating stories from some of these things that were coming out of the ground. I just expanded the idea. So if it's not old jaws and bits of pot, then what else has been lost? What else can tell a story? And because they're lost, very often those stories have gone as well. So yeah. By focusing in on those things that are lost, you can tell these hidden stories.
Was there any that when you were doing your research for the book and coming up with some of them, you thought, oh, that's unbelievable. How is that even lost? Or how is that even, you know, because some of the things in there are literally like, that's incredible. There's one I was actually going to mention, but it's actually going to be in our quiz later on. So hopefully you'll get that one right later on. But what was the ones that kind of really sort of like really stuck in your mind?
I was surprised that we have lost nuclear bombs. They were the ones that made me think maybe we should still be looking for those. But in fact, over the years, we've lost a number of nuclear bombs when they've fallen off planes, essentially. And we've tried looking for them, but we haven't found them. So if anyone sees one,
is that
let
like
us know.
Lost nuclear bombs? They've just
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, earlier on, I think it was Claire was saying about sort of losing things. So, you know, so, oh, where's my keys? Where's this? So, but that's quite a difficult one. So I'm sure I had something here. The nuclear bomb. Where's that gone?
Yeah.
Oh, they never found them again.
No one will know.
Apart from now, when it's in your book, Tom, all is revealed, all these things. Is there a particular favourite sort of fact or something you came across that really appealed to your own sort of personality and sense of discovery?
Well, I mean, I cover so many different things, from bombs, to people, to languages, and it was while exploring languages. There's this language on an island called Rapa Nui. People might know it as Easter Island. It's the island with those amazing faces that stare into the center of the island. And they have a language, or they used to have a language called Rongo Rongo. And Rongo Rongo now isn't spoken by anyone. Nobody knows, nobody knows how to speak it. But there are these pieces of wood that have been carved in Rongo Rongo. And rather than letters as we have, they have little shapes and little figures almost. But they don't write as we do from left to right, left to right, left to right. They write as if you imagine a snake on a page going back and forth, back and forth. So you read, they don't even do it from top to bottom, they do it from bottom to top. So they read left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left, carrying on like that to the top of the page. Turn over the page, start again. I had never heard of
that
language like that. And I just found that extraordinary. Is
that Easter Island we're talking about here? Is that
Easter Island, yeah, or Rapa Nui as it's also known. Yeah.
That's absolutely, never heard of that in my life. That's absolutely fascinating. That is absolutely
It has a name, and I have to write it down because I keep forgetting it. But it is called, what is it called? It is called reverse apostropheden. That method of writing.
That sounds complicated. It does sound. How do they read? That's incredible, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? You just assume we're right systems are left to right or right to left. But of course, there are others that are just lost to us. One thing about the book, your book is obviously it's got these fascinating facts in it, which for some children listening, maybe they're not into reading fiction in that sort of sense, and non-fiction facts are their sort of way into things, and then possibly onto fiction as well. But it kind of reads like a story as well, your book, even though it's jumping through different time periods and different problems as well. How do you create that sense of excitement sort of going through? Or is it just because we all kind of are fascinated by things that are just lost? Well, why do you think?
Well, I think everyone's lost something, of course, but very often not the kind of things that are in this book. But I think the beauty of it is, hopefully they do read like stories. That's the aim, that there is an excitement to understanding what has been lost or how it's been lost. How on earth could an island be lost? How does that happen? Or some of the treasures that are just the most beautiful treasures have just gone. How could that happen? But also the stories they're bite size. They're a page long, they're a couple of paragraphs long, and they're enough to jump from and never get bored reading them. There's a beginning and an end. You can get to understand them very quickly, move a few pages on, and you're onto something totally different. So you can just go through, snuggle up in a corner and just flick through and find the things that you like, and it'll be in there.
And also, you don't feel so bad about the stuff you lose then, do you? You sort of think, well, at least I haven't lost a nuclear weapon. I'm all good. Mum, at least I haven't lost one of those. Tom said that was okay. That's what it is. Yeah, have you got a little section you could sort of read for us, Tom? Just sort of give us a little bit. Yeah.
Of course. So this is a poor gentleman in Wales, actually. It's called Missing Bitcoin. So back in 2013, thanks to an innocent mix-up, a hard drive, part of a computer that stores information, ended up in a rubbish dump in Newport, Wales. That hard drive contained around 8,000 Bitcoin, a kind of cryptocurrency, a digital form of money. Cryptocurrencies can be bought and sold on the internet for ordinary physical money like pounds or dollars. And over the years, the value of Bitcoin has risen and fallen. The 8,000 lost Bitcoin were worth around £1 million back in 2013, but are now estimated to be worth more than 600 million. The hard drive's owner did a bit of detective work to find out where his rubbish was dumped and visited the managers of the site. By then, though, his bin bag had already been swamped with thousands of other bags, each full of rubbish. His hard drive was the size of a paperback book. The dump was bigger than 10 football pitches. Surely it was lost forever. The managers explained that rubbish from a certain street always ended up in the same place on the dump. The drive's owner realized it was possible to pinpoint where his rubbish lay. Although there would be a lot to sift through, with the right number of people and enough time, the hard drive could be found. All he needed was access to the dump. But the council refused him access, saying it was too dangerous. So for now, the search for the hard drive has yet to begin. But who knows if it might be unearthed in the future. The problem is there's no guaranteeing it hasn't been damaged by more than 10 years in a rubbish dump. It may even have been recycled, or worse, crushed.
Wow, that's unbelievable, isn't it? That's kind of that's a thought, isn't it? That's a little bit of a thought.
£100 million. Former Q.
That's former Q. So look, Tom's back with us in a moment for Ask the Author questions. I can't really hold this up, but what I want to say, and just special mention, of course, I don't try to get her name right, is to Daniela Marty.
Daniela, honestly, when I saw these images, they're just the most beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, let's hold a couple up, Tom, just to show Daniela's work. I'll just get you on screen. Just flicker through.
Really beautiful work. I say, when Daniela first sent these through, I just thought, this is the best. Really beautiful.
Really just adds to the fascinating facts in the book. So this is a great book to lead you into, obviously, you know, science, but also discoveries, and also, you know, possibly £100 million, you know, if you find it. We never know. And also, obviously, can lead you into about some of the other people that Tom mentions in there. And by doing that, you can.
I also feel we would deserve a cut, being the ones that have told you about the 600 million. So if you do find it, let us know.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Mainly Tom, but just a little bit on the side for me would be quite nice. So Tom's back in a minute. So Lost, stories of people, places, and things lost throughout history is out for your discovery pleasure. Tom, we'll see you in a moment. So thanks very much, Tom Adams. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you. Okay, now next guest, we're going to jump into Jack Noel, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the wonderful Dadbot, Rise of the Badbots, and also a little draw along as well with Jack in a minute. So let's welcome back Jack Noel. Here we go. Hello, Jack. Welcome back.
Hello, Mr. Dilly. Hi, how are you doing?
Very good. So
yeah,
a bit of a change of tack now from Lost Discoveries to Dadbot, Rise of the Badbots. You tell us, you told us a little bit about that in your introduction. What kind of chaos can the reader expect this time if they like this kind of style of graphic novel, really? But what can they expect?
It's a graphic novel. It's a comic book.
Yeah.
There's chaos abounds for sure, because there's all these. Dadbot has become part of the family. He's a robot father figure, but they get a new home assistant. It's a bit like a kind of Alexa or something. She's called Honey. She gets delivered, and Dadbot kind of falls in love with her a bit. So she's there. She's kind of makes the whole thing complicated. Then all these little Badbots start turning up as well. They're little kind of cute things, almost like toddler-esque things, and it's quite fun at first because there's a few turn up, but soon enough there's hundreds and thousands of them. They kind of invade the whole scene and turn into a mega Badbot. So that's chaos for sure.
It's graphic novels. They're obviously extremely popular. And they've been on the rise in terms of sort of sales and children's interest and ways into sort of reading and stuff. Why are they such a fun way into stories, do you think, for children? Well, not just for children, for adults as well. Obviously, they're very popular for adults as well. But why do you think they're such a fun way into stories? It can be a really accessible way into stories.
Yeah. Well, they're accessible because they're so immediate, because reading a picture is something that like everyone can do. Even maybe a dog can read a picture. And it's just something that grabs you straight away. And it's something that I always loved when I was little. I was reading comic books like Tintin and Calvin and Hobbes when I was young. And I've always loved them and always wanted to make one. Do you,
having sort of pictures and words together in terms of that thing, how do you manage to keep things, because it's got a great energy, this book, and it's very fast, very funny. How do you manage to keep it so sort of fast and funny, you know, and moving along at such a speed? Because it really does kind of hook you, and for the kids reading, obviously they get, you know, swept into it very, very quickly. How do you manage to get that kind of balance right as you go through the book?
Well, the cruel twist about graphic novels is they took ages to make, but really quick to read. And when you're making it, if you feel a tiny bit bored, then I just stop and I move on quickly. So sometimes I'm like, if they're talking and there's too much talking going on, I'll just cut it short and move on to the next bit. It's a bit like what Maya was saying about like finding any old idea and just like following the next one.
Yeah. It's amazing. But you're going to do us a little draw along From is it from this particular book, or is it from the previous one?
It's going to be a bit about drawing robots, and we're going to draw a robot. Actually, if you don't mind, we're going to draw a robot that's going to be a helper for you, a robot helper for your life.
You know what? I could do with one. Let's face it, especially at the moment. It's been a tricky year so far, so I could do with a robot helper. That would be quite good. So how are we going to do this then? So get your pens and pencils ready. We can add that up here. Here we go. So I'll remove the logo up here so we can all see what we're doing.
Okay. So this is the books. What I'm going to do for you, Mr. Dilly, is I'm going to draw a robot, maybe a father figure for you. It's going to come into your life. So we've got like this kind of robot generating system.
Okay.
If everyone's drawing along, they can draw at the same time. You can use it for yourself. So the first step is I need to know, for the head of the robot, I need to know your birthday month.
My birthday month is August.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, so that's going to make us give you a square head.
I used to have one of those, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get the hat on was impossible.
I know, I'm going to put the little goggles on already, actually. Because
there we go, there we go.
And then for the face, I need to know the first letter of your first name. Maybe that's a secret.
M. It's M.
M, for Mr.
Yes. Well, yeah, it can be, but it also could be enough different name.
Okay. So it's going to give you this. This is your nice little cute face. Not too bad. And then your body shape is going to follow from your surname.
My body shape?
Yeah, the shape of your body.
It's got to be one of those things.
Not for you, for your robot helper.
I was going to say, I knew that, but the third one, the circle would be sort of after Christmas.
Yeah.
Let's go for we're doing the hexagon. Let's do for that.
I'm going for D for Dilly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to be your body. So everyone can draw along the same kind of system.
Great.
And they'll draw, and they can develop based on their birthdays and their names. They get their own robot shape and body. But where it gets interesting is when it gets unique to you. And we're going to think about how this robot can be a helper for you. So what kind of things in your life would you like help with?
Life. It's a good start. No, I think things in life. I think making coffee. That's good. Making coffee and making cake. I like those two things together.
Okay, so coffee and cake, that's good. So how do you make coffee?
We make it on the stove, on a stovetop boiling thing on a stove.
Okay. Yeah, that's what the dad in Dadbot does actually. He has a kind of mocha pot.
He inspired me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have one arm can be on coffee duty.
Fantastic.
And then everyone, if you're drawing along, you got to think about the things that you might like. You might like in coffee as well, but you probably like playing games, football, or maybe you need like some kind of pizza dispenser. Mr. Dilly, you said you like baking cakes, food?
Yeah, I like eating them as well, mainly.
Okay, so maybe I'm going to do an oven tummy.
Fantastic.
This could be, and this is going to go inside. Maybe this is on 180 degrees. You got a cake going in there ready for you. So when the coffee's ready, the cake will be there too. Was something else that you might like help with?
Something else I help with. Let's say driving. Can we do driving? Driving to schools.
Yeah, driving to schools. Okay, maybe you need well, he could drive. He could have wheels.
This is great. Here we go.
Yeah, get rid of those. You could just sit on top. Maybe this could be your seat.
See what you can do, kids. You can make this is brilliant, isn't it? Fantastic. Okay, look at this.
And then, what's so good about this is this robot is completely unique to you. So this could be the start of your story. This could be Mr. Dilly's crazy coffee car, and this could be the front cover.
I love that. That is absolutely brilliant, Jack.
And maybe this could do directions. And then for the name, we've got the special generator. So the name is going to be based on this. So what's your birthday? Do you know?
It's 28.
28?
28.
Okay, so then X2.
X2, and then August. So X2 bot.
X2 bot.
I love that. That is so good. That's amazing. Look at me. By going through this again, all the children watching go through and they can select, obviously, and basically create their own character as they go through these slides. Go back again. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Look at that. Round of applause, Jack, Noel, and the X2 bot. And you can see more of these crazy things if you get Dadbot, Rise of the Badbots, and the first one as well, Dadbot as well. Should we give you a round of applause, Jack? Let's give Jack a big round of applause. That is amazing, Jack. Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant. You can see how they actually turn out if you jump in, as Jack said, into the pages here a bit later on. Jack, thank you very much for that. You're going to be back with our Ask the Author in just a moment. But for now, round of applause. Jack, Noel, please. Thank you very much. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Jack. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So you can go back and you can pause that on this same link, and then you can catch up and also select your birth date, your birth month, and by doing so, and your name, and you can create your own character, the start of your own stories as well. Okay, let's welcome my final guest before we have an Ask the Author from some of your questions, and then the final quiz before we end today. Let's welcome back Kaz Penney. Hello, Kaz. Thank you very much for waiting. Fantastic. You are here at last. Thank you. Have you enjoyed the show so far?
Yes, absolutely. I think everybody's been brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay, so Kaz, right. Here we go. Look at that. It goes psychedelic on me, doesn't it? Will Shakespeare Mysteries, the Stinky Stolen Toenails. Okay, so we've had a glimpse of this. What makes this mystery in this book such a fun one to solve, do you think, for the kids watching it? Because we all love a good mystery kind of read, very, very popular. So what makes it so fun to sort of jump into this one with a character that we've all heard of course, as well?
Yes, yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
I think it's partly because of what they're looking for. So they're looking for the Mounds of Goo treasure, which is actually a bag full of Henry VIII's old smelly toenail clippings covered in kind of mushrooms and like luminous yellow and really, really, really smelly. Which Will thinks, you know, who wants a bag of old toenail clippings? But some people think they're magic. And then when they're looking for this, originally Will and Tybalt think it's going to be very easy to find them, but then they come up against a nobleman who's obsessed with turnips, and an alchemist who's very devious and tries to lock them in his cellar with piles of pongy pants because he cannot do his washing to save his life. And there's a mysterious stranger, and there's actors, and a donkey's head, and lots of fun stuff.
How did you come up with someone who's obsessed with turnips? That's an interesting or maybe you are. I don't know.
I have never knowingly eaten a turnip in my life, I have to say. But he just seemed he's just one of those characters that popped into my head, and he's kind of puritanical. So he's like no cake, but lots of turnips. So
I don't like him. Sorry,
no. Nobody likes him.
In a world without cake, that's a shocking thing. So William Shakespeare, or Will Shakespeare in this, why William Shakespeare? And was that something? I think I read something about you got introduced to Shakespeare by your mum when you were younger. Is that correct? So what age were you then? And because I think a lot of us get kind of introduced at school, some at secondary school, sometimes a bit of primary school as well.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Was that through school or just your mum? What
no, it was just my mum. She'd always really loved Shakespeare, and she had a which I've got now. It's a book of the plays and the poems, and I just remember looking through it, and some of the language is hard, and I didn't really get some of it, but I could understand the emotion. And there's also a lot of funny bits in Shakespeare. He writes a lot about bodily functions and bits of the body and stuff like that, and I just really fell in love with him. And then when I was thinking about him as a child, we don't know a lot about Will Shakespeare's life, and we know virtually nothing about his childhood, or very small amounts. So I thought it's like a big kind of open page, blank page, that you could then make up a story around what he was like as a child. And I think so many people love crime solving and detective stories and things like that. And I kind of thought they hadn't been invented when Will Shakespeare was actually a child in the 16th century. But I thought surely he would love detective stories, because, you know, I just think he would. So that's why I decided to make it a detective story with him starring.
So as you said, it's got that mystery element and history and obviously adventure to go through it. So again, for children watching, there's different ways you might like different sorts of books, different sorts of stories, and Kaz has kind of combined them all into one in here. But lots of humour as well, which is always great, as Jack was saying and Claire was saying as well as we go through it all. What can readers, other things can readers expect to sort of find by sort of reading the book? You said about the mystery element to it. Without giving too much away, what's the big mystery that we're going to follow through to the end, without giving too much away?
The big mystery is, there's partly Will thinks he's a genius. He is a genius, but not necessarily quite as big a genius as he thinks he is, which is why he needs his best friend Tybalt. So a lot of it is about their interaction and their banter. But the heart of the mystery is Ronaldo and Judy. So this is the play it's based on is Romeo and Juliet. Want to get married, but Ronaldo isn't allowed to marry Judy unless he gives her dad the mounds of goo treasure, which are these stolen toenails. So Will and Tybalt have to chase around Stratford-upon-Avon, trying to discover what's happened to these toenails, even though they can't imagine anybody would really want them. And so that's the big question, I guess. Why did somebody steal these really stinky toenails in the first place?
That's pretty wretched, isn't it? That's not a good thing. Is there any particular things that, for children, we were talking about to Tom about sort of facts and stuff, and some children love facts and love getting into that. Is there any particular things about sort of Tudor life or Shakespeare himself that kids might sort of pick up from reading the book that's actually based on, the time itself? Anything in there?
Yeah, so there's some. So one of the characters likes having cups of hot water because they haven't got tea yet in England at this period. They have rushes on the floor. So Will talks about the guy who can't do his washing and whose cellar is full of disgusting pongy pants, has like dirty rushes all over his floor because he's just terrible at looking after his house. And they talk about he wears sort of tights, or what you call tights nowadays, because now he's a grown-up boy and he doesn't have to wear dresses anymore like little boys do in Tudor times. Before they're breeched, they wear dresses, which you might not know.
I didn't know that, no. So there's an age reached when they can actually then start wearing tights.
Yeah, and then there are men and they wear tights. So
men wear tights. There you go. You heard it from Kaz first. Okay, Kaz, can you give us a little taster of the book, please? Can I hand over to you for that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to read you the bit just up. So this is Ronaldo, and that's Judy's dad. So they've had this argument. Ronaldo has agreed he's going to give Judy's dad the mounds of goo treasure, the toenails, in order to get him to agree to let them get married. So Will has overheard all of this going on, and then the next morning he wakes up to a horrible screaming noise. I realised all the screeching and wailing was actually coming from the garden of the house next door. I got up, hurried into the garden, crept up to the hedge and peered over the top. There was Ronaldo Moundsgoo sitting on a patch of soggy grass. The horrible noise was coming from him. Some crying is fine. We all do it. Tybalt cried last week when a cow sneezed in his face, covering him with cow bogey. I cried at the end of term when Master Hobson, my teacher, told me I was bottom of the class for Latin. But Ronaldo cries a lot. Still, I'd never seen Ronaldo crying like this. His face was red, his eyes were swollen, he was covered in tears, bogies and snot. His hair was standing up in clumps, like it was stuck together, probably with more snot. Overall, he did not look good. I cleared my throat. Hello, Ronaldo, I said. Looking forward to the big party tomorrow evening? This just made him cry harder. I'm not going to the party. There is no point. Fair enough, I thought. More cake for everyone else. I'm not going because I can't marry Judy, Ronaldo groaned. Her dad still says no. I thought back to the argument in the marketplace the day before. But he agreed to the wedding as long as you handed over the mounds of goo treasure. Ronaldo shrieked louder than my dad when he accidentally sat on the big needly part of my mum's spinning wheel. Then he blew his nose really loudly on his tunic. It was disgusting. His tunic had gone all shiny and green with little crusty bits sticking to it. I can't give him the treasure, Ronaldo sobbed, because it's been stolen.
Dun, 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 dun. So we leave another cliffhanger, good cliffhanger ending.
Yeah,
so here we go. So Will Shakespeare Mysteries, the Stinky Stolen Toenail is out now. It's worth mentioning, illustrated by Sammy L.
I was just going to say, so Sammy has done all these amazing illustrations, and let's see if I can find you the turnip guy who doesn't like the.
Oh, yeah, please.
On the there he is. That's Master Devevil on the toilet in the privy. So.
There we go. There we go. It's the turnip guy on the toilet. Turnips and toilet. Never
Yes.
a good conversation. So listen, Kaz, thank you very much. You're going to stay with us. We're going to bring back, of course, Jack as well as Tom for our quick Ask the Author. Then everyone's back for our finale, which is the quiz. So let's ask the author. Okay, so welcome back, Jack and Tom here. So we've got a couple of other school questions for you. Before this gets you warmed up for the quiz, which is coming your way. So I know you're very excited about that. Okay, this is from, it's quite a standard question, but it's interesting for children to hear about this. This is from Audley Edge School for Girls in Cheshire. Thank you for your question. What's the best thing about being a children's author, I guess, for you? So, Tom, any particular thoughts about that? What's the best thing for you?
Well, I said before that I also make television documentaries, and with television documentaries, you're always spending money by going places, and it's very difficult to get the money to go to those places. As an author, you can go anywhere you want. You can write about anywhere you want. You can set something on the moon. You can tell stories about places the other side of the world, and it's fine. It doesn't cost any more. You can go anywhere you like.
That's a great answer. Okay, Jack, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, for me, when I was little, I always just found the most relaxing place to be was at the kitchen table with a bowl of Weetabix and a couple of comics to copy out. And it's still the same for me now. Like when I'm doing drawings and colouring in, it's my safe space, my happy place. So I do that a lot now.
Which is a good cereal. Let's face it, Weetabix.
Yeah.
Other cereals are available, everybody. And Kaz, what about yourself?
I think the best thing for me is when a reader says that they really like something I've written, because it just makes me so happy. And there's lots of difficult things about being a writer, but having a reader say, I loved your book, or I loved it made me laugh is like the best feeling.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. Okay, this is similar to an earlier question, but it's slightly different. So Richmond Avenue Primary School, South End of C. Thank you for your question. What book did you enjoy reading again and again as a child, if there was one? Because obviously not all of us were readers, as children. So Tom, was there a particular book that you maybe enjoyed reading again and again as a child, or maybe there wasn't? Tom, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, I heard them talking about the Narnia series previously. Yeah. I would read the Narnia series again and again, but there was one other book, an odd book. It was called Peter Graves. I think it was a French author, and it was about an inventor who had invented something lighter than air, and his nephew or someone ended up stitching them to his back, and these lighter than air things enabled him to fly around the country. I just remember being obsessed by it and reading it year after year after year. But beyond that, I don't really know what it was about. It's just this amazing world where this lighter than air stuff existed.
That's amazing. Jack, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not a big rereader or rewatcher of things. I like to I'm a one and done kind of person. But for comics, for pictures, I can find myself looking at them for ages because I like to study them and I like to copy them. And I learned a lot about drawing from copying out, especially Tintin pictures. And I would blow them up and draw big versions of Tintin pictures on wallpaper, like rolls of wallpaper on the table.
You did it at a young age, at quite a young age, did you start doing that?
Yeah, from probably, 5.
Wow.
Or maybe I was copying, I remember copying the tiger from the Frosties box. Tony the Tiger's a big influence on me.
So I can see that a lot of your childhood is cereal related.
Yeah, cereal based. Yeah.
Next answer, Cheerios. Yeah. They won't answer. Kaz, what about you?
So a book that I actually read until I've still got it, but it's so fragile now. It was The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. Oh, yeah. And I very clearly remember my school didn't have a library. It had like a trestle table with books on that was set up once or something. And I remember getting the hardback from the library and falling in love with it. And then I got my own copy and I read it so many times that it's virtually disintegrated, but I've still got it on my shelf just because I like to hold it. And I've got an actual proper, a new version that I can read every Christmas because it's just such a wonderful, wonderful story.
It's also old books, it's the smell of it, isn't it? And also, and it's not tatty, but you made it tatty, it's something about really, really. Okay, this is sort of a slightly unusual question. I don't know if it's going to quite work, but it might work for Jack and Kaz, maybe not for you, Tom, but let's have a look. Here we go. St John Fisher Catholic College, Newcastle under Lyme. The reason I put the school up because they always send in questions. They're always good. Thank you very much for that. What's the best thing you do that makes you laugh? I'm guessing it's to do with your own writing, I guess, or something like that. So it's quite an unusual question. So you can interpret it any way you like, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's go for Tom. Is that the best thing that you do that makes you laugh? Here we go. I don't know. There we go. Any thoughts?
Oh my word.
I know it's a hard question. No, good question. It's a hard one. We come back to you, Tom.
Yeah, maybe.
Jack, what about yourself? Maybe it's when you're writing books. Maybe it's that. Yeah.
Well, when I'm writing the books, I definitely have to think about the things that make me laugh because I put them in the book. So I'm always like listening out for moments that if like we have a family dinner and everyone starts laughing, then I'm like, I'll just suddenly go quiet and make a note of it in my mind. But like confusion or something in the family, if something says something wrong, then we can start riffing on that. Gentle bullying goes down quite well.
Yeah. That's pretty clever though, isn't it? Kaz, what about you?
I similar, I guess. So I love the stuff that I write. I've got a very childlike sense of humor, I guess, because it all makes me laugh. You know, the turnip guy on the toilet and everything cracks me up. And then I have a lot of a family chat with my sister, and she's very funny. And we just if I screenshotted it, it wouldn't make any sense to anybody else, but it just makes us laugh the whole time. All the sort of jokes we remember from our childhood that we still reference and.
That's good. It doesn't make any sense. That's what's lovely about it, doesn't it? It's very special to you because that's what's lovely about this sort of thing. Tom, have you got something?
Well, all I could say is that it's my dad jokes, which I then have to laugh at because my children never would. So I just have to let them know it's funny by, you're going to ask me for a dad joke now, and I haven't got it.
But the thing is that when someone doesn't laugh at those sort of jokes, it makes you laugh more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really,
Keep
really
going.
Good.
Watch their agony. Exactly. Yeah.
But listen, that's the end of Ask the Author, and everyone, they're going to stay with us because we're going to bring everyone back in a moment for our finale today, the Last Legends and Lost Treasures quiz. Okay, everyone is back here. Very, very exciting times. Now, I'm just going to play the titles for the Last Legends and Lost Treasures quiz, and then we're into the quiz. So get your buzzers ready, and we'll be back with you in just a second. That pretty dramatic stuff there. So that's just to get you all kind of nice. Okay, now children in your classroom, what you can do is you can play along in the following ways. You can just shout the answer out. You can write the answers down if you want by yourself, or you can get into pairs. Entirely up to you, or you can do none of that stuff and just watch the authors have fun, I guess, is the way forward. Now, before we actually get into the questions, okay, each of our authors today were asked to bring along a buzzer sound so we can try and figure out who's answering the question. So we're going to go along and hear their particular buzzer sounds. Kaz, we're going to start with you. God, that sounds like me last night. Okay. So Kaz, Jack.
Got my ukulele.
Fantastic. MG Leonard. Oh, that sounds like a pub in a film. Okay, S.J. Poyton. Brilliant. Look at the variety of sounds. Okay, Tom Adams. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Let's face it. Okay, and Claire Powell. Very, very good. Okay, now we're going to get through as many of these as we can. I'm aware of time. We're definitely going to do 8, but if we have time, we do 10. Depends how quickly we get through them. The question's going to go on the screen. What I've divided it into sort of 3 sections. Starts with laughs, then we have a few for legends, and then a few for lost treasures as well. So the question's going to go on the screen. You have to wait till I get to the end of the question before you can buzz in, okay? And I think, let's do it properly. We're playing for points. Why not? Let's see how we go on. Don't worry about it. I always lose score. And we all win at the end because we're all winners. We're all winners. Okay, so we're going to the question's going to go on the screen, and the same in your classroom. You can't shout out the answer until I finish reading the first question. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start off with our last round. Here we go. Are we ready, authors? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. They look terrified. It's okay. Here's the first question. What is the name of Horrid Henry's little brother? Oh,
sorry.
We're all kind of in there at the same time, nearly. I think we're all in there. I think we all do it. Kick us off, okay? Do you know in your classrooms? I'll give you a 1, 2, 3. Say out the answer at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Off you go.
Perfect.
Pizza.
Well done. Give yourselves a nice big round of applause. Fantastic. So everyone gets a point for that one. Look at, we started off in style. Okay. Second question. Remember, I've got to finish the question. Got to finish the question before we can buzz in. Okay. How'd you get on your classrooms? Okay. The authors did well. Did you? Let's go. Question 2. Still in the last bit. In Diary of a Wimpy Kid, what is the name of Greg Heffley's best friend? Anybody know?
Is it Rowley?
It is Rowley Jefferson.
Well done.
That was very, very good. I love that sound. Very, very good indeed. Okay, so this is our last part of our last round of Laughs, Legends, and Lost Treasures. Here we go. So, are we ready, authors? Are we ready in our classrooms? Here we go. Question 3. Remember, can't buzz in until I finish asking the question. Dogman is made by combining a police officer with what animal? I think that would be Bad School Band. So that's really good. So we have, I think that probably was just about Jack there. I think Jack. So what?
Yes. It's got to be half dog, isn't he?
It's a dog.
Okay.
We got your point there. So well done, Jack. Okay, so that's our last round. Now we're going into legends. So children watching, if you're into legends, maybe this is your round. Okay, they're all doing very well. They've all got at least 1 point. So it's all good. Okay, so here we go. Question 4 of legends. In the Legend of King Arthur, what is the name of his sword? I think we're all in there. It's bad timing, but we're all in there. So at the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Excalibur.
Excalibur, a point for all of you there. Well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're doing very, very well, everybody. Okay, here we go. Now we're staying with the English myths and legends. Here we go. This is quite an easy one, children. Hopefully you know this one. Here we go. Question 5. Where does Robin Hood live with his band of outlaws? Oh, I'm not quite sure. That could have been Kaz, just about there. Yes. Kaz, where does Robin Hood live with his band of outlaws?
In Sherwood Forest.
He does live in Sherwood Forest. Well done, Kaz. Okay. Okay, now we have another couple of myths and legend questions here. This plays into, hopefully, children, what you've been studying in the classroom as well. Here we go. For question 6, we're going back further. Zeus has 2 famous brothers. One rules the sea and one rules the underworld. But what are their names? Or it would have been Kaz and SJ Poyton at the same time there. So I think we go for it at the same time. Do you know their names? So try and say that. I know you might get the wrong way around, but that's fine. So Kaz and SJ Poyton. 1, 2, 3. Who are they?
Poseidon and Hades.
They are indeed. Well done. A point each. So there we go for Kaz and SJ Poyton. They're very, very good. Okay. How are you doing well in your classrooms? Okay. Question 7. Now we're going to ancient Egypt. Okay. So Maya, this could be you. Okay. Here we go. So, in ancient Egyptian mythology, which god has the head of a jackal and is linked to the afterlife? Okay.
It's Anubis.
It is indeed Anubis. Very, very good. So we have Anubis. Very, very good. Okay. Now we're on to our final bit, which is our lost treasures. Okay, lost treasures. Let's do them all today because it's fun. Here we go. Lost treasures. Which famous ship sank in 1912 was later discovered at the bottom of the ocean? Oh, I think that's probably. I think Jack, Tom, and Kaz. Is that right? Did I get anyone else in there? I might miss someone out. Okay, let's have Jack, Kaz, and Tom on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Titanic.
Oh.
No, I got the wrong.
Oh, it was indeed the Titanic.
Titanic, yeah.
So
I meant that.
Tom, did you get in there? One for you, Tom? Or were you just waiting to see what the others said?
I said Titanic. Yeah, no, I did. I said Titanic, honest.
I'll let you off. Okay, fantastic. Okay. Did you get that, children? Here we go. This one is from your book, Tom, and something I didn't know. See if you can remember this one. This is an interesting one, okay? Question 9. The skull of which famous playwright is believed to be missing from his grave? A, William Shakespeare, B, Charles Dickens, or C, Oscar Wilde? A. Oh, no, A. Tom, what is the answer?
William Shakespeare.
It is Shakespeare. So tell us a little bit about that. Shakespeare hasn't got a head. Is that right?
So they say there's a grave that was scanned with a machine that can look beyond the stone, and they've found that there has been disturbance here, and it looks as if there isn't a skull there. There's also a skull being found in another church down the road, and the talk is that somehow that skull, got pinched and taken down the road.
Someone swapped it for a turnip, perhaps.
That's what it was. It's a turnip in there. Isn't that weird? That's incredible. Okay, so brilliant there. That's Tom there. Okay, and the last question, okay, to see if you can guess this one, okay, is I've got to find the answer for myself. I'm not actually sure. Here we go. And this has been mentioned today in the show. How many books are there in the Chronicles of Narnia series? A8, B7, C9. I think that's probably Sally. What about how many do you think it is?
I think it's 7.
It is 7 books in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So we can give Sally a point there. They are, just in case you want to know, everybody, The Magician's Nephew. They were published in a different order for this. Magician's Nephew, of course, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and my particular favourite, even though it's kind of slightly strange, The Last Battle. That is the end of our last Legends and Lost Treasures. Okay, now there was a winner, but only just. Kaz won that one. So Kaz, well done, Kaz. You won that one by 1 point. But you've all done well today. Listen, it's been an absolute delight having you on the show today. Thank you very much for all. Hold up your books for one last time as we give all our lovely guests a big round of applause. Thank you very much for joining us today. Kaz Penney, round of applause. Kaz, thank you very much. Give us a wave, Kaz. Thanks a lot, Kaz. Bye-bye. Jack Noel, round of applause. Jack Noel, thank you very much, Jack, and for his wonderful drawing as well there. We have Tom Adams. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Tom. We have S.J. Poyton. Thank you very much, Sally. Very, very good. We have Claire Powell. Thank you, Claire. And we have MG Leonard. Thank you very much, MG Leonard. Thank you very much. Brilliant guest there. I hope you all enjoyed the show today. And you can watch up on the same, catch up on the same link as well. But for now, it leaves me to say, my name is Mr. Dilly. Thank you for watching. And it's goodbye from me, my friends. And it's goodbye from me. Thank you. Goodbye.